Hi,
Hi,
Tanya.
Gaetano.
So I was told that we need to like have a hook when we start our
Oh,
show by
yes,
a friend who's a podcast aficionado.
I agree,
So
but I don't know what
I
a hook
don't
is. So,
I don't know what it is either. So if anyone out there wants to, message us on Instagram or Facebook with what you think would be a good hook, you know what? We'll do a competition.
oh, there you go. I love that because we just don't want to be saying the same thing every time that we start, right? That's the goal. So we want
Right.
something that kind of sort of just brings you into the episode.
Exactly. Besides just hi, how are you? I mean, it's like,
Yeah, exactly. So
we already know we're so pleasant with each other. I think everyone's gotten that by now.
most
So
of the
it's
time.
good. Most of the time. So,
Yeah, if you have any ideas of how we can start the episodes, because if you might have, somebody else might have felt the same way about it. So if you have any ideas, please message
yeah, let
us,
us
post it
know.
on the episode,
Post on the
comments,
episode or it message us on Instagram
or
or
Facebook.
Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want ideas. And also don't forget to let us know of any questions you have or any comments you have because that's also a great way to open our show. I think we did that last week.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we
We
did do it
did,
last week
yes.
about the comment from the woman in Minnesota. So I mean that's also a great way.
Yes. And
So
this week we had a comment from somebody that wanted to know more about food in Spain. Now,
right.
this week we're going to talk a little bit about an introduction to food, but we will get more into food later. So the food is coming, people. The food is coming.
Yeah.
But
And I think the food will be a
it will
constant. Like
be.
there will be many an episode on, the restaurants are different. It's about restaurants. Maybe we'll take some cooking classes and make
Yeah.
complete fools out of ourselves. I mean, don't worry, we'll be talking about food
Yeah, the
and
food is coming.
and sharing recipes in the future because I will bring this up like last Easter. I have to also let everyone know my allergies are really bad, and we may have discussed this in the previous about living in Spain, and allergies are different, and I am suffering. So if
Yeah.
you hear some sneezing or coughing, I will try to edit out, but understand that if I don't sound as sparkly as
You sound
normal,
sparkly, you just sound a little stuffed up.
I sound like
And then
Snuffleupagus
snuffleupagus a little
sparkly.
bit, yes. But your
So
sparkle has not waned.
my sparkle hasn't
No,
diminished.
you're still
It's
sparkly.
thanks.
Speaking of
So
sparkly, or non-sparkly, have your sparkles actually been deleted this week? I think so. Tell me, because I know
yes.
this week has been very rough.
I've had probably the worst week I've had since we've moved here.
Yeah,
And I will say this, I had this thought this week that I have not felt this stress since we moved here and that this was like the kind of stress I haven't felt like in years and some of the stress I was continually having in life in LA with the stress of LA that was this kind of sort of baseline and I was having the feeling again this week. I'm like I have not felt this
yeah.
way in a
And
long
why?
time. And because we moved here with the plan and guarantee of getting Italian citizenship, and we're in the process. And our appointment would be in about a month or two to go to the consulate to get Italian citizenship by descent for me and my daughters. And Italy on Friday the 28th, out of the
Of
blue
March.
of March, unbeknownst to anyone, they did a like an executive decree or whatever. I don't know all the legal Italian legal terms, but decided that they were ending citizenship by descent worldwide, and if your application wasn't in the night before, they're no longer being accepted. So they didn't even give a warning period of people saying you have 2 months to get your ducks in a row.
Right.
They said
And it takes a long time
if
to get
you're
your ducks in a row. But to be clear, it's not
right,
all descent. It's great grandfather, correct?
it's great
So if you have a
grandfather,
grandfather, you maybe are still okay.
but
But
yeah, but so they've effectively canceled it forever because if your grandparent has it, it doesn't get passed to your children anymore. Before it was like, where was your link? And then
mm,
all your descendants down could keep it,
I
right? So
see.
me and my daughters would be on my application. Now that's no
So
longer
possibly
possible.
it's all descent because it's not being transferred from generation to generation anymore. And then the last link that they had where it was, they've cancelled. Yeah.
Right. Before it was great
Yeah.
grandparents or even great great
Yeah, yeah.
grandparents. It went down to a certain year, like they had to be born after 1860 or
Yeah.
something like that. I don't know all of
Yeah.
that. I
So
didn't.
the gist of it is that we all come over here with some kind of plan, and that's, it's very stressful as people that are doing it now. It's already stressful getting all your papers together where you are in order to come, wondering if that's going to work, because you're doing a lot of work getting papers together. And when we moved, we were doing it here because we were doing residency versus a visa, and that's very stressful as it is. Like, you probably, like, the stress that you had when you were trying to get all the stuff together, when you decided you want to move to Spain and you're in LA trying to get that stuff together, when you finally get it all sorted, it's like a huge relief. And then you're here with a plan, and then that plan blows up. So
The
obviously
plan blows
it's
up.
not. It's you never know what might happen. This is
You never know what happened, and unfortunately, no one knew this was
no.
happening. So there's a lot of stress. The lawyers didn't
Yeah.
know. I mean, this is just a complete blindside, and so I've been wrapping my head around what the new reality is, and so it's been a
It's been
hard
a hard
week,
week.
and we will talk about this more when I know more. But um, there is a lot of anger in my heart right
Of
now,
course,
and there's a
yeah,
lot of
everything's
stress in
changed
my
because
brain.
this is you, and I know, we've spoken about it a lot. I mean, you've been working really hard, gathering papers, doing all this stuff, and this was the goal, and this was the avenue for you staying here. And I think it's hard when these things get blown up, and
Yeah.
you will be fine, and everyone that's doing it will find another way. There are many ways you can move to Europe.
It's just that
Yeah.
so my whole thing was for my daughters. We moved here with the ultimate goal of becoming European citizens.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just to live a fun life in Europe. The goal was, and that was, we're going to have Italian citizenship, so let's move now, and we'll be on a visa, and then that will be done, and then we will be able to be
Yeah,
Europeans and benefit from all of that. So that was,
that was it.
we had the truest of intentions of being here, right? This wasn't some flippant line of, like,
Like, come over and see how it goes and stay if you like it kind of situation. You
say
were
if I like it,
staying. This was
or
it. You were going to
yeah,
be moving
this
here
was
and
it.
living here.
And the citizenship wasn't a flight of privileged fancy of, like, I've got five passports from different countries. This was like, no, this is our, like, I
Physical.
legitimately
Yeah.
was in the process for legitimate reasons to live in Europe, right?
Yeah.
So it's
So
hard. And
it's
now we're on a natural, now it looks like we're going to have to be on a naturalization path. So
yeah.
citizenship is 9 years
Also,
away versus like 6 months away. So
which
it's a,
for a lot of people that's how they move over here, and some people move
right.
back because it's not for them, and some people stay on it and love it here, and so those paths are still there for you. So it's not a total disaster. It's just it's a shock, and
It's a
yeah.
shock, and it limits my daughter's futures for the next several years, and that's what I'm wrapping around.
Yeah.
And we'll have more information when I've wrapped around, like, what it means for school and what it
Yeah.
means for all these different things. And that's the stuff that my
Mm-hmm.
mind is kind of going crazy over. And
Yes, and
that's
also
it.
when things settle, we will also interview some immigration lawyers, some people that help with visas and things, just to help people out with all the things that we've just done what we do. We don't have all the details of
Right.
everything else.
And
So
to be honest, how we all did it is obsolete. So Tanya and I telling our stories isn't going to help you because
yeah,
uh,
we got
ta-
ours through England, which no longer
pre
can pre
it,
Brexit. Literally 5 minutes
the
before
the
Brexit.
11th hour, 59 minutes of Brexit is how
Oh my
you
god,
got here.
2020 was so stressful. Speaking of stress,
And
that was yeah, also very stressful, and we didn't know if we were going to have to pivot like you are, because that was,
right,
as opposed to your situation where you thought you had it sorted and you now have to pivot. I was like, pivot plan A, pivot plan B. Like, we was just, there was a good chance that we would have to. So, it's always good to have a plan B, I guess. But
right. Well, I mean,
yeah.
sorry about that. I had a little coughing fit, so we had a mute, and now we've lost our train of thought.
And
So we're
trust me, you'll
back.
be happy you missed that.
And just so you know, we're on video, so she got to see it
Oh, it
too.
was
So
beautiful. Yes.
don't feel
The
left
things you
out.
do for
So,
your friends.
and for our
And
fans, I'm on I'm on a my figurative um I don't know what I'm trying to say.
well, we have the cough button, I guess, right? That was like,
Yes,
just make
yes.
sure you know where it is, and he knew where it was, so that's awesome.
All right, so we don't know what we're talking about, but that's where we're at, and
Updates will come, but now we're going to talk about
updates will come.
something way more fun.
More fun, which
Well,
is
is it though?
um,
I don't know.
so this is a learning curve transition
Can I just
thing
say I'm
that
still in the learning curve? I still don't know when to go out to eat or where. Like, I still am.
that's because you're country
It
folk.
is.
You're up in the mountains and you're not with us city
And to a
people.
point, that is a good point. It is very different. So we're
Yeah.
going to talk about just a little bit about restaurants and when they're open and when they're not and what it looks like, and then, like we said earlier, we'll get into real like food and stuff at another episode. But
Right.
this is kind of, I don't know, want to call it like restaurant etiquette or
Well,
something.
it's restaurant etiquette, and it's also it's assimilation into culture. I will. So for first, I think everyone needs to know that I'm slightly hyperbolic here, but there are 17 meal times in Spain, and each of them have their own verb on top of it.
Oh,
So,
and they're different in different regions. So we're talking about Valencia, but when I first was in Spain, almuerzo in Barcelona area, as far as I knew, was breakfast. But here in this area, it seems to be the second breakfast that often involves alcohol.
no, it is alcohol. It's your illegally sanctioned and
Yes,
culturally accepted first time of
at
drinking.
9:30, 8:30 in the
I
morning.
think it's 10. It's 10. It's 10.
Yeah,
So,
it might be a little earlier for some, but it is one of those things where if you learn Spanish somewhere, you may be taught that almuerzo is breakfast. It's not.
right.
I don't think. It
Well, I
may be
mean,
somewhere, but not here.
well, so, but I will agree with that because breakfast is technically like 6 to 8 a.m. and no one's eating breakfast here. So breakfast has a verb, and I don't know anyone who has like what would be the sanctioned breakfast time breakfast
Hmm.
in Valencia because that's literally the only 2 hours we're allowed to sleep in Valencia and in Spain, right? Because
Well,
dinner is so late.
but I will say there is a difference between breakfast. For me, there seems to be a difference between breakfast and almuerzo here, and I could be totally wrong, but this is just purely my observation. I will go out for breakfast with friends, and I'll have tostadas, which is like
Right.
mostly what we have here is you'll have it's like a baguette that's been cut horizontally and toasted, and then on top of that you get jamon, cheese, olive oil, or this smashed tomato.
The rub tomato.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that type of thing, and that is your like breakfast. But if somebody
Right.
goes for almuerzo, they're going for like alcohol and a massive bocadillo sandwich, from what I've
It's a
seen.
bocadillo
So
and
it's
beer or
different.
wine.
The
Yeah.
almuerzo is different from what I have when I go for breakfast, and I can go for breakfast at any time in the morning
Right.
for the
Yes,
tostadas.
right. But I think I mean, but since someone's having breakfast, their breakfast consists of alcohol and a bocadillo.
Totally.
So, and they do serve the bocadillos, which, like you said, is a sandwich on a
Hmm.
baguette, which will sometimes have the tortilla, which in Spain is not a tortilla that you put a taco in. It is a basically an omelet, a potato and egg,
Right.
not omelet,
Yeah.
quiche frittata type thing, and they will put that inside the baguette,
Well,
which
yeah.
I find is one of the most delicious ways to have a
It's so
bocadillo is
good.
with the
And I will
yeah.
say the bocadillo. So the bocadillos are usually, and this goes back to when we first moved here, and we did some little trips, but there weren't a lot of people about. So we went to, I think, some town south of Valencia, and there wasn't a lot of people there. We were at the beach, and we went to this little area that had all the restaurants, and there were like 4 or 5 restaurants, right? And we went to each one, and we're like, "Do you have a menu?" And they're like, "No, we don't have a menu. You can have whatever you want." So we went to the next one. We're like, "That can't be true. Can't have whatever I want. I mean, they
I
can't
can't
have
have lobster
everything."
thermidor.
Right? I mean, that's what I want. Then we went to the next one. No, no, you can have whatever you want. Next one. No, you can have whatever you want. So we would like, clearly something's going on here that we do not understand. We finally, at this moment, we found a restaurant that had an actual menu, and we ate there because we didn't know what else to do. Our Spanish wasn't good enough to order whatever we wanted. Turns
Right.
out, whatever you want, if you're going to all that, there's cafes everywhere, and they're all just these little cafes where everyone's having their almuerzo, they're having their breakfast, and they're having coffee and whatever. And then all these places serve an array of tapas. And these tapas are like what you're talking about, the Spanish tortilla, it's calamari, sepia, which is like a grilled type of squid
It's
type
another
of thing.
squiddy type in
And
whatever those things are.
yeah, and
Crustacean. It's another
crustacean,
crustacean.
exactly. And then they have like well, there's no.
The sardines in oil,
Yeah,
the
they have these. So
anchovies in oil.
there's like an array of maybe 10 tapas that you have in
Right.
every single restaurant.
Every single
Every single
restaurant, and there'll
restaurant
be 17 restaurants on every
on every
street that
street.
sell the
They're
exact
all
same food.
exactly that
And how they all stay in business is
is
still
stunning, right? But
right,
to my point, that is what they mean. Anything you want. Any of
right.
the 10 tapas in a baguette is anything you want in a sandwich. So that
So,
is your
so
goal there.
So it's like as an American, if you were to go to McDonald's and you take your kids to McDonald's and you could say you can have anything you want, they already know what's on the menu, so they already
Right.
know what their limitations of everything they want is. But we foreigners come to Spain and you tell us anything we want is we don't know what the anything we don't know what our
Right.
boundaries
And
are.
to that end, if
But
you're not in the city, I think the city's quite different in this way. A lot of the restaurants do not have menus at all. They don't
they
have
don't have a QR code, they
there's
don't have a
nothing
wall.
because they
They're
all serve the same thing. So you have to
right.
go to a restaurant that's doing something different in order to get a menu because otherwise, you're not
And
gonna
it's
get
not a
that. And it's
menu.
not a
You're
menu,
not
it's a
getting a
carta.
menu.
So that's the other
It's a
thing.
carta.
Again, going back to
So
your Spanish, right? If you learn Spanish and you type in menu, it's gonna say carta, right? As your
right.
Spanish word. That is a carta. But they also have menus.
And a menu is what we would call a prefix thing. That
Yeah.
is, there's a price, and it's a menu del dia, is most places will
So
have, which is a
good. Yeah.
lunchtime menu, and they can be anywhere from I've seen them as cheap as 7 up to 30 euros,
Right.
right?
Depending on
Depending
the
on the
restaurant.
restaurant and the neighborhood. If you go into
Yeah.
one of the more working class neighborhoods, you can get one for 7, and it's delicious. And
Amazing.
you
Yeah.
you get 3 courses, depending. It's usually an appetizer, an entree, a dessert, and a coffee.
Yeah. Or
Or
sometimes you get to
or
pick between a coffee or a dessert. But
exactly.
then,
It,
so all these restaurants have menus and cartas. The menu
right.
is the actual menu, and I mean, the carta
The
is
menu is
sorry.
the
Oh my
actual
god, I'm getting
is
confused
the
now.
prefix meal that you have a
Yes.
limited choice,
Yeah.
and then they have the
Which
carte,
is the
which would be
actual
your
menu.
a la
Yeah,
carte,
but that's the
which
actual
you
menu.
can that you can actually see what all of their offerings are and pay accordingly.
Right. But if it's a small little cafe, it's not going to have either of those things.
Other of those things.
It's just
They may have a menu del dia, they just won't
they
let you know. It
might.
won't be listed. I think maybe it'll be on a chalkboard of
They
what
might.
their offerings for that
Yeah.
menu of that day is,
Yes, and
right?
I do
Like
feel like the further out you get from the city, the more traditional and the more
the
basic
less
it is.
hand holding they're doing for
For
you
sure.
foreigners.
For sure. We are not having our hand held at all.
No.
That's been my
So-
experience. But once you kind of get the hang of that, it makes things a lot easier because I was confused for quite some time about the menus and the cartas because I just was trying to learn Spanish and I'm like, well, it's a carta. Like, why do you suddenly have a menu? Like, I don't understand.
right. Right.
And sometimes you just give up and then you're like, well, I just want to go home and eat.
And I've had visitors come. So let me just go through the list for everyone. So there are literally, what is it, 5 meals a day. So you have your desayuno, which is your breakfast, which
Hmm.
is early, like which would, if you are a working member of society living on a schedule, that would be before you go to work. That's 6 to 8
Right.
a.m. is when you're eating that. And then you get your almuerzo, which is your mid-morning break at 10, 11
Which is
a.m., where she
legitimately
gets
like a lunch meal. So that's going to be a big
it's
meal.
it's yeah, it's a bocadillo, which is like kind of
Hmm.
like a sandwich, and your first beer or glass of wine of the day.
Hmm.
And I mean, that was a shock for me when I moved here, and it was like a Wednesday, and I walked out of the apartment, and I was like, why are all these people smoking and drinking at 10 a.m. on a Wednesday? And it was like workmen, like there was guys in suits, and there
Yeah.
was the construction workers. I'm like, so wait, you're gonna go back and install a
Hmm.
toilet? Is it gonna work
Well, and I
after
will say the
that?
almuerzo, as far as I've seen, is quite dedicated to people that are working hard, like you
Hmm.
said, the construction workers and everything, and people that are riding their bikes. Those seem to be the two groups of people that I've seen doing almuerzo
Oh, right,
with a passion, right? So they're
right,
like leaving home with all their gear, riding their bike to the local cafe, and having a big almuerzo and riding their bike home. So depending on how fit you are, it probably depends on how far that cafe is, right? But we've had
right.
stuff done on our house where the people come. We've had like some renovations, and they come and they set up at like 8:30. They set up
Hmm.
everything. 9:30 out of there. Almuerzo. And then they come back around 10:30. So
Right.
that is the time for the almuerzo. And I'm like, did you all drink? I don't know. You're like using
Of course they
tile
drink. Of
cutters. Yeah.
course.
But I mean, but
Yeah.
no one's getting drunk. That's the interesting thing. It's
Right.
so they're just having a beer, glass of wine, or whatever it is, or they're having
The
the
we're,
liquor in their coffee as well, the espresso.
right.
Yeah.
I want to get through the
Yeah,
list,
and
but
that's
I
the
want to
list.
also, I want to get back to the alcohol consumption thing. Anyway, so then after almuerzo, then you have comida, which is
Comida, yeah.
lunch.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have merienda, which is around 5 o'clock. So anyway, lunch is around 1 to 4 p.m. is when you have comida, because that's also the siesta time. So people take siesta, and that's when they have their lunch, and then you have your merienda, which is around 5 to 7 p.m., which is your coffee and dessert. That's when you have something sweet and your coffee, because if you're going to stay up until midnight to have dinner, you have to have coffee at 5
And
p.m.
it's also
So
very popular for the kids. I think they come home from school and they have a merienda
it's
like right
it's
then,
very
and then
much
dinner
you see the
later.
little churros in the
Mm-hmm.
toddlers' hands, and
Yeah.
that's definitely where mom takes them after she picks them up from the
Yeah,
daycare
and you will
centers
hear
and
that
stuff.
phrase as well, where people are like, let's have a merienda, like with the kids. If you're
Right.
coming over with the kids, that word is going to pop up.
Right. And Marianne definitely is used as the word for
Mm-hmm.
snack. So that's, I mean,
Overall,
that's really
yeah,
what it is. But hold on. And then the last one is your cena, which is your dinner,
yes,
which is, really going to be between 8 and midnight.
mm-hmm,
Most people aren't eating until 10, and you will see school age children at a restaurant on a Wednesday
yeah.
night, on a school night at 11 o'clock, finishing their meal. It's crazy.
And
But
to
what
be
I
clear,
want
all of
to
them are comida because all of them are food.
Right. Well, yeah, I was gonna say, but the comida also means food. So everything's food,
Yeah.
but each one of these meals has their own verb.
Yes.
So you would do breakfast, you would do
Mm-hmm.
almuerzo, you would have
Yep.
merienda. Like these are also verbs, and the verbs spell obviously slightly different, but they all have their
Mm-hmm.
things. So you wouldn't say I eat merienda, you would say I merienda.
Right.
I'm not conjugating it, but like that's what you do, because not at that
It's
level.
nice
I'm
that you
still
have that in English and not Spanish. Spanglish is what we're going with
Spanglish.
here.
I don't even. I have ignorantish. That's what I have. Right, right. And the little old ladies in my building who are so sweet and adorable, but after a year and a half, they're still like, "When are you learning
Right? Well,
Spanish?"
good
And
for
they
them.
they they look at me and they point their little fingers up at my face and
Yep.
say, "You need to learn your
Have
Spanish." And
have
I'm,
they slapped you
I
around the back of
know.
the head yet? That's coming next.
They're getting close. They're getting close, and I'm like, I'm paying for ballet lessons for my daughter. There's only so much funds I can expend right now. Um,
Yeah, and
um,
the other thing is with the which was kind of a new thing for me too is in the when you get the carta with all the different things you have hamburguesas and bocadillos and sandwiches.
right.
And those three things are different based on the type of bread that they use. So,
And well, bread and also what's in
not
it,
from my
right? So,
experience. In my experience, it's been a hamburguesa is anything inside a hamburger bun.
well, no, it's not anything. It can be chicken, it can be beef, it can be pork, but it's not sliced ham.
Well, they
It would
don't
be
do
like,
that.
right, but I'm saying it wouldn't be anything. It would be like a chicken patty, like a
Yeah, I
fried
mean on the
chicken
menu, but
patty.
I think they're calling anything in a hamburger bun a hamburguesa, even though you're doing it might be a crispy chicken, it could be a chicken like a grilled chicken, like you said, a hamburger, it could be a pulled pork or something. And I think if they
It's not pulled pork. It's really just I'm
no, I've been to different
okay.
restaurants that have different things inside them. So I mean, different maybe traditionally. I think you're talking traditionally, and I'm talking like, oh, I've seen on menus
I
different
I
things.
haven't seen that anywhere in
Yeah.
the city where they have anything other than like a chicken patty or a burger or a pork burger, or, like the
Yeah.
ground beef, right?
No, I mean
So,
I haven't seen sliced meat inside of it, but my feeling is, and I could be wrong, that if they did put sliced meat inside of that bun, it would be called a hamburguesa type sandwich. Anyway, that's just my feeling on that one. And then a bocadillo
right.
is always a baguette, and then
It's the baguette, but and it's also, but the bocadillo is never elaborate. So it's
the
very
bocadillo has all
it's
the tapas inside usually.
right, but it's just one thing. Like it wouldn't be like lettuce,
No,
tomato, and
no.
a thing. It would just
Wait,
be
you've seen
called.
lettuce?
Yeah, it's hard.
You've seen lettuce in a
We'll,
sandwich?
we'll get into that in a second. Vegetables in Spain are a myth. They are what's that called? An apparition.
It is
So
totally, yeah. So anyway, yeah, but you're 100% correct. So that's the bocadillo is usually the baguette, and then a sandwich is like your sliced like white or brown bread or whatever, which is to what you were saying earlier. That's where you would probably find a mixto sandwich, which is like not hamon, like a York ham, which is
yeah,
the
hamon with tomato and maybe a
yeah.
little sprig of
But they
lettuce
love
and
their like
or
the British the sliced ham, like the deli ham, the
mm-hmm.
that you're used to in America with sliced cheese, and that would go in like a sandwich. And I think maybe that's possibly more designed for kids. Possibly, I don't know why it's like that, but those are the three
Right.
things that I've seen, and they're all sandwiches,
Right.
but they do have a variety of names.
And it was weird. Like when we first moved here, hamburgers. I'm like, why is there a chicken patty
Right in
on
my
this
hamburger.
section? That's not this
Yeah.
section. And then,
Yeah, it was weird. At first, I was like, because I was looking at hamburguesa as the title. I'm like, well, I'm not going to look there for a chicken sandwich,
right,
obviously. So
right.
let me look over here, and I'm like, why don't they have any chicken sandwiches anywhere?
And then when you also look at as an American coming here, it's very shocking to what they do to an actual hamburger
Mm-hmm.
here.
Oh
We're not going
gosh.
to talk about the quality of the meat. That's a whole nother
Oh, that's a whole
topic.
other episode, I think.
We are actually having, so we have a person lined up for an interview to discuss meat in Spain.
I can't
So
wait for that because I really need
yeah,
someone to explain it to me.
yeah. But you go to hamburger restaurants and they'll have a whole list of hamburgers. And when we first moved here, so I'll also tie this in because it goes in with it. All the meals, when you move here, it takes a while to acclimate to the meal times because all of the meal times we've just mentioned to you are none of the meal times as an American would expect to be eating,
Right.
right? All the
Absolutely.
times they don't serve is when Americans eat. All the times they do serve here is when we don't
Yeah,
eat,
you will be
right? So
constantly going out looking for food, and do not be tricked by the fact that there is that 100 cafes with people sitting at them drinking coffee and their whatever. You'll go in, the kitchen is closed. So
right,
you can get your coffees and whatever, you can sit out there and have like a whatever, maybe a little peanuts or something, but you are not getting
right.
food. So
You're not
it's
getting
very
food.
deceiving. You're like, oh, I'm going out for lunch, great, and then you go there and like, no, 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 we're not serving.
Yeah. It's 6 p.m. You're like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
hungry at 6 p.m. I'm peckish. It's dinner time. And they're like, no, the kitchen opens at
Yeah,
8:30. And you're like, but you can have beer. I'll be real pretty by
yeah,
dinner time if I
and
have my
and
beer
right,
now.
and outside and outside the city where we are in certain areas, I've found that if we go out at like 2:33, the kitchens are closing.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
you
yeah.
have to eat early. You can't have lunch at 1:32. You will be getting pissing them off a little bit and getting to the point where they're like, well, we're closing our kitchen, and really the cook wanted to go home, and now we got to cook you our menu. Like, that's not
Right.
happening.
I mean, I think that's more of a country
It
thing
is, but
because
it does
in the
change the
city,
second you leave the city. Like,
right,
yeah.
because the city lunchtime is 1 to 4. 3:30 is usually when the kitchen's closed,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
some stay open till 4:30. They'll kick you out by 4:30, like that's when they want you out. But
Yeah.
like you're not getting a reservation before 1 p.m.
No.
and
No. Yeah.
you're not getting one after
Yeah.
3:30. Those are kind of like the constraints for lunch. And as an American, I'm like, that's when we're back at work. Like that's not lunchtime.
Well,
So,
very different.
this
We've gone out so many times and then had to go home because we couldn't.
right,
And then we're like so hungry and it's like really
yeah,
too late to go via the supermarket and pick up something to cook because now you're going to be eating at 4 o'clock. And we're just like, well, that was
right,
the whole afternoon just driving around looking for a restaurant that Google says are open. And legitimately
right.
they're open, but all we can get is
Legitimately,
coffee.
they are. You're right. I mean, when we first moved here, we were like, where, like, we did not know any of this,
Hmm.
so and it took a few weeks of acclimating into it, and now we're fully acclimated into it, and we wouldn't expect life to live any other way. So when we were in London back in January, and my friend said, "Oh, let's go eat," and I'm like, it's like 6. Like, why are we looking for food now? Like, I had so
Right.
already acclimated
Right.
that I'm like, dining times in England are just wrong to me now, right? So,
So different, right? So different.
and we've had visitors come here, and it's funny because we're in it, and they're like, I just want to eat now, and I'm like, aren't you
Yeah,
cute?
here's a
Well,
bag of chips.
no. Yeah. And then have them be like, why are they not giving us the check? It's like I had one friend who was like, well, I'm not gonna tip them. But I was like, you know what? They're not expecting it.
Right. Oh
So
my gosh, it's so funny. Oh, speaking of
and
etiquette and speaking of restaurant etiquette like that,
mhm,
um, the Spanish will sit at the table the whole day, and that's totally fine. That is acceptable.
right.
You can go there and have a coffee at a cafe, and you can eat. Now, I don't know, like when if you come here and think I'm going to hover over a table until they leave, that does not that
It's
is
not
not
gonna
happening. You're the
happen.
one being rude. Like there is no culture of that, because it is perfectly okay to have your meal and sit at that table, and they're not in this culture where you have to turn over that table and all the tips like
Right.
what you were talking
And
about. It just isn't happening. So do not, if there isn't a table, there may not be a table for hours. Like,
no, and no, and to add to that, um, if you see 50 tables, that doesn't mean there's a table for you to sit at.
oh, because they're
Because when they
reserved.
take a because when they take a reservation, say at 9 o'clock, that means the table's been booked. If the restaurant opens at 8, if that reservation's for 9:30, that no one's sitting at that table at 8
Right.
because
Yeah.
that table's been booked for the night, not
Yes.
for a time slot. They expect you to be there all night. So we've had that, especially those first few weeks of being like, there's at lunchtime, there's no one here. They're like, it's reserved for two. And I'm like, but it's one. And then
Right.
I've said to them, well, we're Americans. We eat fast.
Will
Like,
you
as long as you're
quickly?
gone in 45 minutes. I'm like, we will be like, we're American. We
do
don't
they
sit at
do they let you do
restaurants.
that?
Yeah, we do. And then,
I thought they would be a bit worried. It's so funny because, that is one of those things where it's like, look, we all moved here for a more relaxed culture. You don't come to Spain unless you want to be more relaxed. So these are the things that
right.
fall into the category of it's going to be a
But
mass.
relaxation takes
It
work
does. It
and
takes
effort.
adjustment and patience to be more relaxed in the way that you want it to be. So you really have to keep that in mind in those moments. And we had a family staying with us, and there's 6 of them, and I get anxiety now when people come to stay and I have to go
Hmm.
to out to a restaurant, because I'm like, it I want to do a reservation, but not all places. Sometimes people just want to go out to a place that's doing tapas. They're not doing reservations. It's like just a little Spanish cafe. But then I get full anxiety over like what time they're going to be open and when we're going to be able to eat, because I still
Right.
haven't really fully adjusted because we mostly eat at home. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't screw this up when I have friends
Right.
staying. So I'm trying to make reservations everywhere so that I know that, especially with that many people, because that was a big
And
family.
reservations are very important here. It is a different culture here that you don't just go to a restaurant and expect to be seated like you would in America, or be like, oh, there's a wait time, because they're not turning over tables. They will seat you if they have space.
Yeah.
It's not like you can't wander around the city and find a restaurant. But if you're like, oh, I really want to eat at this restaurant on Thursday with my friends, just book the reservation, because it's not a we let's all just meet there and see what
Right.
happens,
So I would
because
book
it
the restaurants, but not the cafes for like a sandwich or something, or tapas or
Mhm.
things like that. But I would imagine in the city you must
you
have
book you reserve for lunch
you
here.
reserve
You
for
make
lunch, but
lunch.
you must also
Hmm.
have restaurants that are open all day because they're chains. No, I mean it's a bit different.
So that's what I was gonna bring up before, was so the hamburger thing, right? So our hamburger story is we had just first moved here, was like the first week or something, and we're not used to the meal times, and it's 5 o'clock, and I'm like, where do we eat? Like, it's like we're just knocking on doors,
Mm-hmm. Help.
like Joseph and Mary looking for an inn, please take us in. And so, in the city, you will, like, not in my neighborhood. Like, once you're in a neighborhood, you will not. But in the center of town, where it's a little bit more touristy, you will find restaurants that are open all day. No one will be in there, but they will keep one wait staff, or one chef,
Right.
one wait staff and one chef, or maybe the chef is the wait staff,
Mm-hmm.
on duty for the foreigners, right?
Yep.
So we did go to this. It was a sports bar place, hamburgers and sports. So we get the menu, and then we look at the hamburguesa list, the
Mm-hmm.
hamburger list, the beef hamburger list,
The
and
actual hamburgers.
the actual hamburger, and like what they put on these hamburgers
Oh.
is just. I mean, we had places in America like the Counter in LA, and where they have all these different toppings and creative things, but it was a build your own,
Mm-hmm.
not like
Here
crazy. And there's one hamburger that said, "This is the American
and here's your
burger."
crazy sandwich with everything on it.
Yeah, and they're like this. I'm like, oh, let's get the American. It's American. It'll be American, right? And it comes with, and I kid you not, it had calamari rings on it. It had onion rings on it.
Mm-hmm.
It had those fried crispy onion things.
Okay. Yep.
It had barbecue sauce,
Uh-huh.
mayonnaise, and ketchup, and sautéed onions.
And
And I
sauteed
was like,
onions. That's a lot of
and
onion.
sautéed onions.
Okay.
And I was like, this would not be in America. We wouldn't do that. This is not American.
No.
And then it was, and then I just realized I was musing on this just a couple of weeks ago because, I was having a flashback of that because I see American style things
Right.
throughout
Yeah.
here. And then I'm like, I feel like these people have never been to America.
Mm-hmm.
And then it hit me because, like, what they call an American cookie is not a cookie. What they
No.
call an American cupcake is not a cupcake. Like, it's not, it doesn't taste the right. It's not
Right.
designed the right, whatever. And and then I was like, well, maybe I'm just so American narcissist, I don't know the word I'm looking, American centric or US
Mm-hmm.
centric, that really here America doesn't mean the United States. America means
Anywhere.
from the Arctic Circle down to Patagonia.
Right.
North and South America is America. So I'm like, maybe that's how they do burgers in Peru,
And
and
you don't
I'm
know
just
it.
thinking, and
Well,
I don't know
they
it.
put an
So
ingredient on from every country in America.
from every
Was
country,
it good?
maybe that's it. This is the
It
American.
didn't sound terrible.
Well, we had to separate it
Yeah.
because you can't fit that
No,
stack
no.
in your
Yeah.
mouth. And it wasn't horrible. The meat wasn't ideal. But it wasn't horrible. It was a shock that it was like this
Yeah.
isn't just a
I'm
cheese, lettuce, and
right.
tomato on a
I'm
burger,
not a big fan of
right?
barbecue on burgers, but that's obviously a thing. So other people
Right.
are fine with it.
They love a
Yeah.
barbecue sauce
Yeah, yeah,
here.
yeah.
They do. And I'm not a hater of
Yeah.
barbecue. I'm not one to put it on my burger, but I don't mind it on my French fries.
There you go.
I'm
And
not
that
like
does sound like a
yeah.
cross between a hamburger and a bocadillo because you got the tapas in there, right? You got tapas, you've got the whatever you want
it's
inside the
it's a
hamburguesa, so you're good.
is it a boca
Bocagesa.
It's
Oh, there you go. That's a new
boca.
that's a new phrase.
We're gonna open up a restaurant called Boca
Oh my
Giza.
gosh. And I will say, from speaking of timing of restaurants, in anyway, outside of the city, you can confirm if it's the same in the city. It is the best time to go shopping at the supermarket. There is nobody in the supermarket during siesta. So if you
Right.
when everyone else is doing their Spanish siesta thing and you go to the supermarket and get your shopping done, no waits, no nothing. It's amazing.
No, yeah, it's don't go at
No.
5:30 when people have gotten off
No,
of
no,
work.
no.
That's when it's
But at like
packed.
3:30 in
And
the afternoon or something, it's so
perfect,
great.
yeah.
So there's if you can find things that are open to do, siesta time is a great time to do it, shopping wise. And that really only applies to I think malls and like big shops like the hardware store and
Right.
supermarket and things like that. So I found that makes things quite pleasant. I will go do those shopping things before I go pick up Xena from school, and it all works out quite nicely. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's when I do. I mean, I usually do my grocery shopping when like, I take the girls to the bus stop, then I'll run to the gym, and then it's like 10 a.m. and it's very empty then too,
Yeah.
right? So I'll do that, or I'll do like because, or I'll do like, let me run out before I get Paloma from the bus because they didn't send that 4 o'clock range of like I can get everything. Nothing's gonna be selling
Yeah.
out, and things do sell out here. And I don't know if you experience that where you are, but here at a certain hour, like the grocery store closes at 9:30, but at 7, they're already putting stuff away. So if you want an apple, they may have already put the apples away at
Oh,
7:30,
really? I
8
don't think I've ever
o'clock.
been to the
Yeah,
supermarket that late, to be honest. I think it would be either madness or, like you're saying, little weird. Yeah. I
yeah.
think it's
So
it's
it's
different, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and that was like shocking. I'm like, how could you not have like all the produce will be like or a lot of it will have been taken away. And I'm like, I know 700 apples did not sell since four
No, there's
o'clock,
no
right?
way.
So-
Oh my God. And also, speaking of ordering food in Spanish in restaurants, we had this really funny experience when we were living in a town that was just a little, like a small little town in an apartment. And downstairs from our apartment, there's a lot of these restaurants that are kind of, I think they're run by, I'm not sure who they're run by, but it's a certain type, and they sell pizzas, but they sell a mix, and it's always like pizza.
You mean the
It's the
kebab
kebab, but they also
places?
sell pizza and French fries, and
Well,
it's like this.
it's not really pizza.
It's not really anything, but it's these little
No,
kind of
it's-
shops, and there's
It's like a frozen. It's like and I mean, I'm sorry to bag on it, but I have to. It's like the cheapest generic frozen pizza you would find in like a Costco.
yes, it's not a
right?
good pizza, but it's a place that speaking to which
It serves drunk
it's
people.
often open.
It's
Okay,
it's
often open,
Yeah,
and they sell literally everything from burritos to pizza to kebabs and everything. And you might
Right.
find something on there that's decent that you like. But this is what was downstairs from us at a time when a lot of restaurants hadn't really reopened yet, so we had very limited restaurant options at that time. And I went down there to order food. We had some friends over, and it was like, 4 kids and a couple of adults, and we were just gonna have something for dinner. And I was like, let's not cook, let's order from down here. So I went down there,
Right.
I ordered with my beautiful Spanish, right? At the time, my
Right.
Spanish has only improved slightly, but not much. And I ordered like pizza, and I ordered some French fries, and somebody wanted like a kebab thing. So I ordered all that stuff, and then it was like, yeah, come back down in half an hour, it'll be ready. Perfect. Come back
Right.
down, get all the food, take it back upstairs. The French fries are on the pizza. And I was like, did I not explain this properly? I must have like asked. I mean, this is a thing in Italy actually, but it is a thing that we had in America when it's for kids that they put the French fries on the pizza. This is
I've never heard of that. You've
yes,
heard
it's
of that
actually a
before?
thing. When we had our Italian restaurant, it was one of the things on the kids menu because it is a thing. It is an Italian thing that I'd never heard of before until then. But that was not what I asked for. I swear that was not what I asked for. But all the kids were like, "Okay, let's go in." And we're like, "Well, yeah, let's have some carbs on top of some carbs. That seems like a good idea."
Right. I mean, that sounds like stoner pizza.
It
That doesn't
does.
sound
Yeah,
like
but
it doesn't sound like
I mean, I'm just saying sometimes you might order things and get something else. It happens, when your language is a little challenged in
right,
communication.
right. Oh, what I did want to bring up about restaurants that we were talking about the etiquette of staying at the
Mm-hmm.
tables, and they like if you're there they expect you to be there until they
Right.
close. There's no rush to get you out. The other thing is as it takes getting used to, and it's not gauche. They will not bring you a check. They will not even look at your
No.
direction. And it's, I mean, we've the visitors, and my first few months
Mm-hmm.
here, it was like kind of a slight because you're expecting someone
You want the
to give you
attention
the
that you
check.
get
You
in
want the
America or
attention, and
England.
you don't want to have to tell people you're ready to leave.
They should
They
be
should
on it.
know that it's
Yeah.
time, right? Or and feel like so here, it is not considered rude. It is expected that if you're ready to leave before the socially acceptable time of forever is to is to go up with your credit card to the counter or to the waitress or to whomever and say, I'm ready to
Right.
pay, versus waving your hands around the restaurant to get them to come
Yeah,
over to
because
you.
they are
So,
being they are ignoring you respectfully. That's how it's done. You're not being ignored
exactly,
on purpose. And I
exactly.
will say, like when in a again outside the city, if I've just gone for a coffee and I know how much the coffee is, and it's like €1.50 or €1.80 or
Hmm.
something, I'll just leave the €2 on next to the coffee thing and leave. I'll leave my
And
money
just
on the
walk
table
away.
out
Right,
there. And
right.
in the city, I would not leave my money on the table and leave. But what I
No, no,
have
no.
done, but what I have done in the city is, if the waitress or waiter is walking by, I'll leave my euros there and I'll say like, oh, it's here, and then I'll leave, and she can come back for
Hmm.
it right away if she wants. So I've done it.
Right.
I will leave the money on the table if I know, if it's just for like,
It's been
yeah, if it's been
acknowledged.
acknowledged in the city. Outside of the city, I'll just leave the no one's taking your euros out there. I mean, not in
Right,
my
right.
experience, and it's the
Well, I don't know. Let's
let's
ask the
ask the
waitress
waitress
if
for
her
all the
experience.
coffees I've had.
Oh, you mean the crazy English lady that just is
Right.
is leaving money for all the
Right.
beggars, and
I
we
know.
haven't been paid in
But it
months.
also leaves a little bit of a tip. I know it's not a tipping culture, but it will leave. It's
Right,
not. I know that sounds stingy. It's like leaves that 20 cents. It's like that's okay.
right.
Or I go in and just go in and put it on the bar when the man he might be making
And
coffee and say here for the cafe con leche or whatever. Yeah, great, great, whatever. Bye. See you
right.
later.
And it's really not a tipping culture. And it is nice if you want to leave something, but some places will not even be able to accept it if it's not in cash. So we were at a very nice Italian
Mm-hmm.
restaurant here in the city just a few weeks ago with some friends from out of town, and they wanted to leave a tip. They were coming from Canada, so they're still tipping culture, and they're like, we want, this was a great meal. They wanted to leave,
It feels
you know,
rude not to when you come from
yeah, they
that.
wanted to leave a percentage tip,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it wasn't just like a euro or two, and they didn't have cash on them, and the restaurant was like, we can't. We Some restaurants will add a tip, or something like the hair salon. I tip. They'll add an extra five
Right.
onto the charge, but the restaurant want it, and I'm sure they don't want it because they don't want to do it for whatever reporting, whatever they have to do, because it might not be an accounting thing, and I don't even think
Yeah.
that it, like, to hide accounting, but it might be like the meal costs this. Why is the bill showing up different? And so we're like, well, we don't have cash, and they were nonplussed. It was like, okay, then we're not getting a tip. It wasn't like, oh
Right.
well, like now we're mad. They're like, well, we tried, and they're
Yeah.
like, when we can't, and you don't, and have a great
Yeah.
night. You
And I know a
know?
lot of places will do tipping in on the credit card or whatever, but I also think it's nicer maybe to tip in cash anyway if you're going to, even in America. I mean,
Well, as
that's
a service worker, I
right.
think I would never tip on
No.
if
I mean,
I,
now
because
it's
I
getting
wasn't, I always kept cash to tip, because when you, like in America, if you tip on the
it's
credit
getting
card,
taxed.
the reality,
Yeah.
not only is it getting taxed, but the reality of the worker ever seeing that tip is still next to none.
Right.
There's so many restaurant owners steal those tips. It happens all the time. There's investigations all the
Yeah.
time on this. So the reality, or they pool those tips. So if you're leaving $100 because your waitress was
It's
so
going to
exceptional, or
everybody.
you're,
I think
it's
cash
going
is.
to
I mean,
everywhere.
there's a lot of issues you can have with the cash as well. But I think cash, to me, if anywhere in the world that if you're tipping, it should be in cash. But that's just
Yeah,
me.
I agree. So that's our personal etiquette outside of
Right.
Spain. That is your worldwide lesson from two people that had been service workers and one had owned a
Yeah.
restaurant. So, so
I think, but so here it's not the case, and it's that is an adjustment. I think because you're used to it. So if I just get a coffee or something, I just leave I round up to the euro, and I think that's pretty common because people are kind of coming
yeah,
in and out for that. But
right.
yeah, I think it's
And who wants a bunch of these little coins? Because side note, they have 17 different coins. Like America wants to get rid of the penny, right? And then here, they're adding. You have a 1 cent, a 2 cent, a 5 cent, a 10 cent, a 20 cent, a 50 cent, and you get all of
yeah,
them and
this
change
is
back. And
true.
you're like, and the 1 cent and the 2 cent are like a tenth of a millimeter different in size. So when I'm pulling those out, I can't tell which one's which.
Right,
I don't handle it enough to where it's in my
right.
brain, right?
Well, I will say at least it's I think at least it's in order of size, unlike the American money.
No, no, the dime is smaller than the nickel, just
It
like in
is.
America. Yeah,
Oh,
the 10 cent
yeah.
piece is the 10 cent seat is like is
It's
very
very
tiny. It's like
tiny.
almost like the size of like the penny size.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then they have the different
because I'm
colors.
still when I pull it out, I'm like I don't know. And then they have a €1 and a €2 coin because they don't have €1
Yeah.
bills. And then I'm trying to figure out those because yes, the €2 is bigger, but not enough to where I'm like feeling it. And again, I'm not handling cash that often, so it's and then
It looks a lot like British money, the euros obviously, and the pound now, so it's really annoying because
is the pound different
it's
sizes
exactly
too?
like
Or
the
all the
euro,
bills?
like it's a coin.
Oh, it's
So my pounds,
so.
I tried to give a £5 note to somebody here,
Uh huh.
and I was that's just looking at that. It's like that's not euros. I'm like it's the same color. It's blue. Um,
And I mean, lived here long enough. I don't handle the cash long enough, but I have cash on me all the
mhm.
time. I do not understand the sizes of the bills. I don't understand the color schemes. Like I don't look at a wallet and be like, oh, I've got three 20s, a 50, and a 10,
Right.
right? Like I don't know that yet. And when I was back, living in the States, I knew all my bills. Like I knew where the 1, 5, 10, and 20 was on the bill, and I knew what my wallet was. And you know, I remember as a bartender as having this like kind of back and
Mm.
forth with a European, being
Uh,
like, I don't understand your money. It all
it
looks the
was
same.
true. Yeah.
And I was saying to them, I said, yeah, but I mean, this was such a snotty remark, but I was like, yeah, well, in America, we don't need to have them different sizes and money, different sizes and colors to tell our bills apart.
And the reason for that is what?
Because he was saying they all look
Right.
alike. And oh, the reason was because I can read
Oh my
1, 5,
god,
and
that is
10,
so rude.
right?
Oh my god.
I was much younger, and I had the hubris of obnoxious
Yes.
youth. And I was also tipping in a bar. I mean, I was also working in a bar and
Right.
working for
Right.
tips and all of that
I
stuff, right?
good
So.
lord. I do think it's better that it's different colors, but yes, like you said, it's getting
I just
used
still
to
don't
it.
know the color scheme,
Yeah.
and I mean I know the size. The really small one's the least amount, right?
I
I
think.
think,
Yep.
right? The 5 is the
Yes.
smallest, so
You get used to the colors. It'll be good. Anyway, so tipping, yes. Tip if you wish, but have cash because it'll be hard to tip otherwise, I think,
yeah,
is the
yeah,
rule
it
of
could be
that one.
hard.
Yeah.
And this is a side note too that credit cards are accepted
Mm-hmm.
everywhere here for
For any
any
amount,
amount.
yeah.
So for any, it is very. I think I've only seen one place that had a limit, and it was like €5. Like that was nothing under €5, but they will charge forty
No, and it's
cents.
funny
They
because I'm like, I'm
it's
so sorry. And they're like, no, no, it's fine. And I'm like, to me,
yeah.
I'm obviously you don't do that. I mean, I don't know if the percentages are different here, but
The
Yeah.
percentages are completely different. They cannot gouge
Yeah.
the establishment like they can in America. So
Yeah.
it's they pay the fee, whatever what. So it's very low.
Because
Like the
we
EU
had a
has set
limit
it.
in our businesses, but I mean, because
Right.
it was so expensive. So it just that made
Hmm.
sense. So I think that's a legitimate thing in the States, but that's it's different here, and you really can use your
Yeah.
card for everything. I mean, whether or not, if you're coming over just and you're visiting and you're getting charged a percentage, for the transfer of money and currency and
Right.
stuff. I mean, you probably want to check yourself on how much you're doing that, but it you can you can if you wish.
So like I will give my experience is the credit card I have from the States is what I use for every purchase, and because they don't have any foreign transaction fees and they use the Google transaction
Mm,
amount. So it's cheaper for me because my assets are in the States
right,
still, that I only transfer over what I need for school, electric,
right,
rent, because it costs me money to transfer that money
right.
over.
If you just
And
charge it, then you're not getting that extra charge.
I'm not
Yeah,
getting it, and then I'm getting my miles and all that stuff. So like that's
yeah,
the benefit. But it's a whole new accounting method that I wasn't thinking about, and it took me a few months of like where's the best way? Do I move money? Do I keep money there? Like
yeah.
how
I
do
think
I
like Wise is a good place to transfer money. Probably
It's
still
the
one of the
cheapest,
cheapest, but
but if it's still costing you $30,
exactly.
it's still
Yeah,
$30, right?
exactly.
So
That's a lot of things to consider. I think is to look at all those things to make sure you're not wasting your money on transfer, for sure.
right, right. And then yeah. So you don't want, and bank to bank transfers is like the most
Yeah.
expensive. So Wise has changed the world in transferring money for sure, and it can happen pretty instantaneously. I did find out this is not about food, but this is since we brought it up, that in Wise the money has to have been in your account for like 5 or 10 days for it to move more instantly.
Yes.
If you're transferring one from one American bank account to the one that's attached to your Wise and it's only been there, it could take 5 to 10 days for the money to then transfer
Yeah,
to
and
your. Just a
I've
side note.
noticed recently that it's giving me a a time frame of how long it's going to take that's completely incorrect when I get it done. So I think it's
Right,
defaulting onto the longer 5 day thing, even
right,
if it turns out when you press send that you have it and it gets it to you immediately. So I've noticed that's
right.
something that I've noticed that's happened recently with Wise, but so make sure you give yourself the time to move that money if that's something that you're doing just in case, because I haven't seen it doesn't say anymore like, oh, immediately or whatever. But then when it goes, it's like
Well,
immediate.
it's only happened to me one time because I learned my lesson and it was like, oh, rent's due, let me
Ooh,
transfer it. And then they're like,
five
3 days.
days.
I'm calling my landlord. I'm like, and it was like maybe like third or fourth month here. So I was like, I'm not like a scofflaw. I'm not gonna squat in your apartment.
Right.
Don't be mad at me. It's gonna take me like 3 days to get this money
Yeah,
because
that's
the
very
transfer.
stressful.
And he was like, it's okay, you fool.
Oh my goodness. Well, I think that the eating out in Spain is, if you once you get used to it, then we can move on to the food and all the delicious things. You get
Then we
into the
can move on to the
restaurants,
food. Yeah.
right? But adjusting to the time frame and everything, I think especially coming from America was quite an adjustment for us.
And because the meal times are different, I don't know if we have even said this before. Lunch is the
Yeah.
meal. That's the meal Spaniards eat. Dinner is more of a snack. If you're eating at 10 o'clock, I mean, you can order tons of food, but they're ordering a much smaller part. If you go into a sushi restaurant at 10, as Americans, we're still ordering all the sushi because it's our
Right.
favorite food. But they're ordering like one or two rolls and that's it. Because at lunchtime, they had their 3 courses, right? That's their big meal. So things
Yeah, to
shift,
that
right?
point, if you have paella, it's supposed to be eaten on Sunday lunch. That's it.
Right.
That's the lunchtime, not any other time.
That's
But they're eating it. They're
right.
eating it
Yes.
whenever. But if you're gonna ask,
The,
that's
if you're gonna ask, well, I mean, any Spaniard will tell you you don't eat it at night, and why would you?
right.
And right, and the other, we'll have a paella conversation, but it kills me. The liking paella is like football fans,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they will, like Spaniard will tell you what is the best place,
Yes.
and they will also tell you that that other place is as is shite, as they
Mm-hmm.
say, and I hope that doesn't give us a buzz.
You should have spelled it out.
And you'll tell someone that, oh no, but I love that place, and they will look at you like you are the worst person.
Mm-hmm.
How dare you eat that
Yeah.
paella? And you're like, well, that place, and they all hate everybody else's restaurant except the one that they
Of
like, right?
course.
Like
No, I mean I
it's
think that's because it's such a specialty, right? Like everyone's doing it a little bit, maybe a little bit different, and it's that's fine. We had some friends staying, and they wanted obviously they wanted to go out for paella, so
right.
but they didn't want conejo on it. They didn't want the rabbit, and
Ah,
I'm
yeah.
like, oh, we're gonna go ask. Luckily, my friends spoke Spanish fluently, so I'm like, I'm taking you with me to the restaurant to ask this because I don't want
Right.
to be the person asking if you can make the traditional Valenciano paella without the rabbit on it, right?
Did it have the snails too,
Not
or
the
did
snails. I don't
they?
think are on the meat one.
Yeah,
I've
the
never had
real
it with.
traditional Valenciana, the real traditional is rabbit, chicken, and
Well, that
snails.
depends on where you go because everybody has a different idea of what the
No,
perfect
every
traditional one. Because when we were a little bit north of Valencia and we were staying with a family there, their traditional one in that region, which is literally here but there, was different.
right.
So it varies, whatever the traditional one. But I mean, the basic traditional with just anyway with the rabbit, whether it has the snails or
Right.
not. I'm no, someone else can eat the snails to answer your question.
Well, in this, definitely in this city, snails
Is
is
on it.
traditional, and if you find it, and what I have been told, if you find a restaurant that isn't serving snails on it, it's because that's for tourists.
Well, I don't. Well, that might be true in the city, but out of the city, there's plenty without. I've had so many paellas,
Right.
and it's never come with snails. So maybe that's a city specialty. That's very possible.
Right.
But they were happy to change the rabbit to chicken, and he was like, yeah, no
Hmm.
problem. Maybe because
And they did it on the fly because
no,
there's
you
like,
can't
you know,
do
they,
paella
and,
on the fly. You have to order
right,
it.
right,
So
right,
we went like a
right.
few days before, and
Oh, so it is how there's like
yeah,
there's
yeah.
I mean there's places here that you can order paella for two. They're mass
Yeah,
producing it in the
but
morning,
that's because they're not
but the
doing it on a
real
paella
place.
pan probably, and it's not freshly made for you. So you're getting it out of a pot, and that's never as good. So you always, if you want to have a good paella, you need to order it ahead at a proper restaurant that's doing
Well, I
it.
mean, that's at the real traditional
Yeah,
places where you have to order it the day before or when you make your
right.
reservation. There's a place here that is considered like, one of
Fancy.
these
Yeah.
places. And it's very fancy and very nice and all of that. But you have to, when you make the reservation, tell them what
Yeah, of
paella
course.
you're
Yeah, no, of
having.
course.
And
Yeah.
then on what, depending on the day of your reservation, what the day you're booking it for, the day of the week that you're going to be sitting down, I mean, they will let you know how much you can order for the table. So like on this
Of
like
extra
so
things.
if it's a table for like we were 10 of
Mm-hmm.
us and they were like you can only order one paella for
Oh,
the
wow.
table. You can't order two for four, right? Two for
Oh,
you like we
okay.
couldn't order paella for four with two
Okay,
different
that must
flavors.
be a
Like
city
that
thing because they
size.
have a maybe a smaller kitchen, possibly.
Well, it was also because it was so big. It was, and that was the busy day,
Yeah.
right? So they're like, we're not making 50 paellas. This is, I think it was a Sundays that we went, so it was the day that's
Yeah.
the busiest. They're like, if you want to come on Tuesday, we can make three different
Oh, okay,
paellas for 10
I've never come
people,
across that, but we're up in the
and
mountains.
you can never order paella for one person. It's always a minimum of
Yeah,
two
no,
at any
that would be
restaurant.
hard. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, we're up in the mountains, the restaurants are much bigger, and that's what they're doing
Hmm.
on Sunday. So we went up, and I've never had an issue with how many paellas we can order or anything like that because I don't
Right.
think they would stop. So
Right.
we
Right.
went a few days ahead, and I was like, I don't want to get into that conversation because I don't know how it's gonna go. So I'm like, you're coming with
Right.
me, plus you are fluent in Spanish, so you can have that conversation and flirt with the guy and like make sure that
Right.
he's okay with it. And so yeah, so we went, and he was like, no problem, no problem. You can. We did like we did one fish one, and we did one traditional ish one with the chicken
Hmm.
instead, and we ordered that like it was like 3 days ahead at that point. And then once you are sitting down, you can order whatever you want as far as tapas and other things, obviously, but the paella needs to be done ahead. And when we've had paella, speaking of the menus from before, when we've ever
Hmm.
had a menu that had paella on it, was never that good because it was always just
No.
pre-made in a pot or something.
Yeah.
You need paella to have that crispy edges. It needs, I mean, all
Well,
that.
and the crispy bottom,
Yeah. So if it's
yeah,
not
that burnt
made in a
bottom, yeah.
paella pan, it is just not the same, in my opinion. So it's going to be a different
Right.
experience.
Well, or they're making in it a paella pan, but it's been sitting out all day. right? So it's
Maybe.
been those big restaurants. I'm sure they have this huge one that they then slop into smaller paella
Yeah.
pans and heat those up really quick to get you that crust on the
Mm-hmm.
bottom, and that's how it's coming to your table. But definitely the Menu del Dia ones, like it's you're just getting a little pile on your
Yeah.
plate, and it's more like they're like this is more like a
Yeah.
pilaf than a
I mean, I would say
paella,
if you're
right?
in
Like
Spain for like one day and you want to try paella, go for it. But it is not at all going to
right,
be what you want as your. You need to go to a place and get paella in a pan. That's, in my opinion,
right,
for the flavor, the
right.
crustiness, everything
That you've ordered
that
two
you've
days
ordered two
before,
days
because
before. Exactly.
yes.
So prepare,
Well,
prepare for your dining experiences.
yes, I hope we've helped you.
Yep.
I hope we've helped
Mm-hmm.
you in understanding, and we will get into
Yeah.
things because I have we will do episodes. I have tried traditional Spanish recipes at
Yeah.
home, and we've already started like acclimating some of them into our
Yeah,
routine. So
and
we'll talk about that some other
like I
time.
said at the beginning, I'm still learning about when to go out to eat. So I still run into problems. So there may be more in this part in this as well because it's continuous
Right.
for me.
But if you're in Valencia and you see a Five Guys, they will serve you from open to
There you
close. You
go.
don't have to worry. You can get a burger there at
And the
5:30.
burger doesn't have calamari on it, so bonus.
It doesn't have calamari on it, and the Five Guys are pretty
They
darn
are.
good here. So,
On that note, are we ending
on that
on
note,
that?
yes, we're ending. We're gonna say goodbye, you all, and we'll have updates. And please, if you have any questions or have a hook
Oh
for us,
yes,
or
please send us some ideas for hooks because we don't have
yes.
any.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.
Hey, can't get enough of us? Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Our Spain Podcast.
And on our website, ospain.com, which we will be updating with exciting new things as we grow.
We would love for you to message us with any topics you would like to hear about.
See you next time.
Bye.